the Indie Accords Readathon was a success. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Chris and today's video is all about the July wrap-up. So, you might have noticed this shirt, I Read Indie. This was gifted to me by the lovely Lana over at Lore and Lullabies, who ran the Indie Accords Readathon again this year. This is the second time that the Indie Accords Readathon has been run. So I gave myself a goal of reading 9 books to fit 9 prompts in the month of July, and I read 8. So I read 2 novellas, 6 full-length novels, and I'm about 65% of the way through of the last book. Today is the last day of the month, being the 31st of July, and I probably will not get that book done, unfortunately, but it will just tick over until next month. I'm still going to give my thoughts on it in this wrap-up, because I'm pretty far through. So, like I said, I read 2 novellas and 6 full-length novels, with the last full-length novel being finished up maybe today, most likely tomorrow in all honesty, but I'll still give you my thoughts on where I am at the moment. With that being said, I have 3 3.5 star books, 2 4-star books, and 3 4.5 star books, with the one that I haven't quite finished yet. I'm thinking around a 4, but we'll get to that one at the end. It's been a fairly good reading month to have 3 4.5 star books bordering on that 5-star, just not quite making it, but being excellent reads. That's a win in my book. Starting off with my first 3.5 read and my first read of the month, we have Arvekt by Craig Lee Gordon. This is Hyper Reality, book number 1. This is a cyberpunk techno thriller. Now, I enjoyed it. It was very fast paced. The prose was addicting and I just wanted to keep going and knowing what happened next, but it was full of a bit of techno jargon, so that took away from my personal enjoyment of it. But I know that going into a cyberpunk sort of sphere, that language is going to be used, and it's just something that my brain is not quite ready to cope with. That being said, a lot of action, a lot of battle scenes, some very cool battle scenes in this book, and I had a genuinely good time with it. I'm looking forward to seeing what Craig Lee Gordon does next, and I will be reading the 2 short stories or novellas that are currently out in this series. I'll put a picture of those up here because the covers are just as gorgeous. This book won the cover competition for the SFC in 2021, and for good reason. Have a look at that. It is so gorgeous. But yeah, had a good time. I will continue on with the series. I'm interested in cyberpunk, particularly the techno thriller side of things, to try and get my brain around it because it was a fun time. My next 3.5 was Gunmetal Gods. This is by Zamil Akhtar. Now, I couldn't see a series name for this one, so I'm not sure if it has a series name, but I know that there's Conqueror's Blood, which is the second one, and I'm not sure what the third book is called. All these covers in this series are next level. They are out of this world. This one had a lot of elements that worked for me, even though the execution and the story overall didn't. I liked the style that we consume this story in. We have a dual POV for a lot of the book, and we're going through the same timeline with 2 different men who are at odds with one another. We also have a whole bunch of side characters, there's internal politics, there's a lot of discussion on why war is believed to be the best way forward, as well as some magical elements and some, again, battle scenes, and also some creepy creatures that were a lot of fun. I don't know that I will be continuing the series. It had a lot of elements that worked for me as individual elements, but I don't know that the execution worked for me overall, so this is one that I'm not sure I will continue on with. The next one that I have at 3.5 is Lost in the Vast. So, sorry, I've forgotten history, which is Lost in the Vast, episode 1. This is an episodic novella fantasy. There are 3, maybe 4 episodes out at the moment, and the idea is to get these episodes out fairly quickly in succession, so the reader doesn't have to wait too long until the next installment. A Forgotten History was a feminist fantasy fiction with an Indiana Jones-like take. We have a group of people who have gone to Mexico to uncover some ancient Mayan ruins which have not yet been discovered. They find some amulets, something happens, and then history seems to have completely 180'd on itself. This was a lot of fun. I gave it a 3.5 just because I don't think think it's had the time to breathe yet. These characters haven't had the time to breathe yet. Episode 1 was about 160 pages, or just under 160 pages, but I'm looking forward to continuing on with these characters and seeing what happens next. Jumping into the 4 stars, the first one we have is Never Die by Rob J. Hayes. Now this was my 5-star prediction. I did not enjoy this one as much as I did the War Eternal series. That series will be one of my top series forevermore, unless something comes and knocks it off, but at the moment it is one of my favourite series of all time. Now, I really enjoy Rob J. Hayes. Everything I've read from him has been a hit for me, and this was no exception. Never Die is about a young boy, 8-year-old Ian, who is collecting heroes to complete a task. He needs to essentially kill the Emperor, and he can't do it because he's quite sickly and 8. So he's bringing back heroes from the dead to complete his goal. This book was very fast-paced. It was battle after battle after battle, and there were some really cool battle scenes that ensued in the book. I think because it was so fast-paced, it took away a little bit from other elements which could have been built up, but that was the aim of the book. Very fast-paced, very action-heavy. We deal with some characters, we get some good character development, but yeah, bang, 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 end goal. Another good Rob J. Hayes entry. I'm looking forward to getting to the next one in the Mortal Techniques series, is what I think the series is called, and Never Die was book number 1. The next one here that I'm going to mention, the next 4-star, is Palom. This is by L.L. McRae, and that is the World of Lunaria book 2. I think this may be my favourite series of the year. This book really broadened what Marauder did. Marauder was book 1, and I can't give away too much of the book because essentially it's spoilers for book 1 straight away in book 2. But what the author has done is taken these characters that we had in book 1, and we got a lot of depth for a couple of the characters in book 1, but what we've done in book 2 is given some of those side characters a lot more depth and a lot more merit. We also just blew apart the world. We expanded it. We got to see more of the places we had touched upon in book 1 and really give those areas a rich history. We understood why they operated the way that they did, as well as exploring some new others. It was just a really good time. I can't wait to continue on with the World of Lunaria with book 3, Amara. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it. Maybe in August, who knows. Then we move on to the 4.5 books. Now, I had 3. That is almost unheard of for me because I am a hard ass. I will give 3 and 4 stars fairly frequently. I tend to sit around the 3 to 4 star mark with a lot of what I read because I don't tend to read books that I don't enjoy, and if they are underneath that 3-star mark, it'll be critical. It'll be certain elements that didn't work for me for certain reasons. But I tend to enjoy most of what I read, which is great. So I'll give a 3 and a 4 star away pretty easy, but that 4 to 5 star mark is hard in my brain to get to. You have to really wow me to do that. So to have 3 in 1 month is almost unheard of. The first one I want to mention is Starbinder. Now this is going to be quite glary there. This is a Eye of the World novella by Mr. Mark Timoney. This was a really fun time, gave some depth to the Starbinders of Blood of the Spear and this world in general, as well as had a little bit of one of the characters that intrigued me the most in Blood of the Spear. So you don't necessarily need to have read Blood of the Spear to read this, as it is a prequel novella. This is set 500 years after the Sundering, whereas Blood of the Spear is 5,000 years after the Sundering, maybe 3,000. But I thought this was excellent, a very good novella to come from this world, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. The next 4.5 star that I gave out was bittersweet. This is Where Heroes Were Born by Tom Dumrell. This is Pillars of Peace book 3 and the conclusion to this trilogy. Now, having a chat to Tom, he's not really interested in writing anymore. This was a passion project that happened over the pandemic, and he's really happy to return to the world of reading. I hope that he gets that spark again, because far out, this was such an enjoyable series. And it has a very historical fiction feel, but it also has those little pockets of that fantastical feel, which just made it a really good time. Book number 3 took a different approach. It was a creative choice and one that paid off very, very well in my opinion, where we looked at one of the side characters, Francine, who was the sister of Cyrus, who was the main focus of books 1 and 2, and really got to go on more of an adventure. And there was still definitely political intrigue, but it takes place about 10 years after the end of book 2, and the characters that we had witnessed in book 1 and 2 had now moved on with their lives. They had different roles, and we got to see more of the world and have more of an adventure. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of heart, and one of the most gut-wrenching scenes that I have read this year, and I haven't forgiven you for it yet, Tom, should you watch this. Now, my most recent completed read was another 4.5 for me. There are issues with this book for sure for people going into it, but I just had such a fun time with it, and I thought it was excellent, and the commentary on just society was out of this world. And the passion that's been put into this project is just next level. And this is Azheek the Rising by Naomi King. Now, this author is so friggin' talented. They created the artwork, they've created glossaries, they've created languages. There is so much effort that has been put into this book to make it what it is. And I just loved it, and this is a contender for one of my favorite books of the year. Now, this had things in it that would sometimes annoy me, like repetition, particularly of descriptor words, of phrases, of the way that some of the battles played out, but it was so entertaining. From page 1 to the end, it left on a cliffhanger, and I need the second book now. I know that the author is currently working on the audiobook. I believe that they are recording it themselves, so that's another part. They're just all-rounder amazing. I will definitely be on the lookout for more Naomi King in the future. I will have a full review for this one when I can be more articulate about why I loved it, but it was so fast-paced and so much fun. Which brings me to the last book that I haven't quite finished. This is In the Orbit of Sirens by T.A. Bruno. This is the Song of Kamaria, Book 1. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Now, at this moment, I'm about 65% of the way through. I hope to read to about 80% today and then finish it up tomorrow, so it'll just pop over until the 1st of August, but that's okay. At the 65% mark, I have to say that I'm sitting around a 4. This is the most enjoyable space opera that I have read. Now, I know that my brain is not yet ready to take on hard science fiction, and this book is perfect. It is so enjoyable. It's very character-based, as well as having quite an extensive world. We've got 2 timelines. We've got one in the past, and which is building up to be the present from a devastating event, and it's all about this character Roland's sort of descent into madness and talking to things that may or may not be there, and then we get to see his descent into madness, but also carry up to the present timeline. We are basically escaping Earth. There's a war happening. There's a lot. I would need to sit down and put the words on the page to be able to make any sense. Just know that it is very enjoyable, and for me to say that I'm really enjoying a space opera is something that I don't say very often, but I hope that I can say that a lot in Sci-Fi September, where I'll probably continue on with this series with book number 2. So that's it. Those are all the books that I read in the month of July. What did you pick up? Let me know what your favorite was in the comment below. If you like this content, give it one of these. If you want to see more of it, then click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.